Urban camouflage. That is what we are talking about today, guys. So before we get into all this, please like, comment, subscribe, pay attention to the videos. We're going to have a lot more stuff from beginner levels, just getting into concealed carry, getting into the gun industry, and then a little bit more advanced videos like what we're talking about today. So please like, comment, subscribe. If this video isn't up your alley, no worries. We'll have many more that probably will be. But what we want to talk about today is camouflage, and more specifically, we want to talk about urban camouflage. So traditionally, when we look at the term camouflage, we think mossy oak or a military uniform, and we think of a literal pattern that we're wearing. Okay, that is in fact camouflage, but there are bigger schemes to camouflage. That is a physical pattern. Versus we have contextual, contextual camouflage. So in other words, our environment is dictating what we look like and how we wear stuff. So that's what we want to get into today and dive in a little bit deeper on what urban camouflage can look at. We're going to bring up some different kind of loadouts, if you will, and how we can kind of utilize those, some work that I've done in the past. And then just being around that community of different people that how they blend in. Maybe the difference between low vis versus low signature. Those two get confused a lot, even in the military community. So we want to talk about some of those things today. So if it sounds like fun, you want to jump in and enjoy the ride, here we go. That's what we're going to talk about. All right, guys, so it's only fair that the first thing that I do is look at what I literally just got done walking around in and kind of discuss some of this stuff, okay? So all of this camouflage needs to be taken within context. And what I mean by that is, if we look at what I'm wearing right now, am I doing a great job of blending in? Not necessarily. I have a shirt that says Executive Training Group on it, with a very military-esque military-esque symbol. Same with my hat. Trying to think of anything else that would kind of pick me out. I mean, if you know about Vans, some people pick up on Vans, but those are probably talking about sending some of the right signals. I've got a microphone in my pocket, but also handheld light, little clips coming off here. Some people have those, but not everybody. I have this clip over here for quick access to my keys. So some of those things could be giving off signatures, if you will. But it's advertising for my company, right? I'm able to walk out the door. I drive a truck around that says Executive Firearms on it. I wear clothing that says Executive Training Group on it. So I have to walk out the door with that mentality in the back of my head it's worth it for the advertising, right? But what does that mean for me when I'm walking around? Well, it means that people are generally probably going to have a better idea 90% of the time that I have some sort of training or weapons on me. Most people probably won't pick up on it, and probably more so the good guys are the ones that are picking up on it. But that's what you got to think about. Talking about my vehicle with camouflage, it's an off-road vehicle with a rooftop tent and racks and all this stuff. So I have to be very cognizant of not leaving expensive stuff in there because I'm expecting my car to get broken into. So with that in mind, there's really no camouflaging that, right? It is a big, giant target. So I have to make sure I'm locking my doors. I also make a habit of not leaving anything valuable. I try not to leave bags out on my seats that make people go, ooh, I want to break that window and take that stuff. So a lot of people say, oh, tactical backpacks. It's any backpack. People will smash windows in for a backpack because people generally keep valuable things in backpacks. So just keep that in mind, camouflage-wise. Whatever you're going out in the day, think about what everything says about you, the statement that it makes, right? So for this is just kind of how I exit the house. I make sure I always have a weapon or a handheld light, and then I make sure I'm carrying a Glock 19 with a handheld or with a weapon-mounted light, and then I have a tourniquet on me. If I carry an extra mag, I'll slip it in my back pocket. Generally, I'll keep that in my truck, and depending on where I'm going or what I'm doing, I'll throw an extra mag in that pocket, which works for me. To each his own, though. So this is kind of, when I go outside, when I'm going to work, this is what I will wear. I want to advertise for the company, so I will put on a company shirt, generally. Now, if I'm going somewhere else and I don't necessarily want to advertise, sometimes I'll wear it, but I always try and make note of the clothing that I'm putting on and at least acknowledge the fact that, like, hey, you're wearing a shirt that somehow could link you to, self-protection, self-defense, firearms, any of that stuff. Just make note of that stuff. It doesn't mean absolutely never wear it, but just be aware that you are wearing it because it's putting off signals. Some good, some could be bad, right? So with all that being said, the moral of the story for this is when you walk outside of your house and you're carrying a firearm, just for everyday carry. Think about the signals that you're sending off. You know, do you have a big military style watch? You know, we're going to cover a lot more of that in detail, but that's the first principle we want to talk about, is you are sending out signals sometimes that work for you and sometimes that work against you. And it depends on who picks them up or what they say. And we're going to, like I said, dive deeper into that. But that's the first thing I wanted to show you guys is I know I walk outside with a shirt that says something about me, right? And as long as you acknowledge that, you can, you know, it's still okay. It doesn't mean you're going to die. All right, guys, let's talk about low vis, okay? If you think anything about what I'm wearing right now is low vis, you're wrong. I look like a tactical chocolate chip, okay? So I only do this not to be mean, but let's talk about the realities of our expectations of what low vis is, okay? Low vis is we're trying to eliminate visual eyes on us. We don't want to give anybody a reason to look at us for long. It's not that like what we mistake often for low signature. This could maybe be low signature. We're going to talk about that a little bit more, but this is like a weird bastard child of low signature and low vis because there's just so many things that end up being a giveaway. Like this bag, for example, like this is just an old bag that I have lying around. I never use it because it's way too tactical. It's got MOLLE and mag pouches and all this crap on it. So it's very obvious that this is not like your typical messenger bag. When I have MOLLE, or I'll put like an American flag Velcroed on there, or my name, whatever, right? So this is really going to give away, this look is kind of the, I'm pretending to not want to be detected, but I kind of want to be detected, right? So, you know, now we look at this. How often do people match like tactical colors with tactical colors? Okay, I have brown with like a green. That's weird. Nobody does that. Like when we're walking around in the street, people don't dress like that, okay? So like your blacks with your ODs, people think these are low vis, but they're not. They're good for like the traditional sense of maybe camouflage, but not for what we're talking about, right? And then I put, this is beef jerky, but I put this in here because, you know, usually people that walk around with a fat lip full of chewing tobacco or something like that, that tells you that that guy might be military, might be, you know, a little bit more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, it says something about someone, right? So that, right? I don't have one, but G-Shocks, Suntos, Garmin's, all that stuff is kind of a, I don't want to say it, but a giveaway, right? Now, we've gotten away from the combat boots and we move towards like Salomon's. Guess what? Salomon's now send off the signal that like outdoorsy or some sort of self-defense or like, these have been used for a while now. So Merrell's, Salomon's, all that, they're going to say something about you. They're going to send off a statement, all right? And if you think that bad people can't pick up on some of those, you're incorrect. They absolutely can. Okay, bulging pockets, like this is a tourniquet, right? Normal people don't keep things generally in their cargo pockets, right? So if you have to keep stuff in there, like it's kind of an emergency thing. This is going to bulk out. And just cargo pants in general, like these are not even that bad. When you start getting the Velcro loop, like people don't normally wear that stuff, okay? All right, so now obviously I've got a quote-unquote concealed carry holster, but when I do this, the butt of my gun is going to kind of stick out, right? So, you know, having a Glock 34, this part isn't as bad, but then we have this big buckle belt. Like when I see a belt like this tells me tactical, like Cobra buckles, things like that. There's other belts you can get that are a little bit better at not giving off the signature, right? We're talking about low vis, okay? Someone sees this belt, they're going to think tactical. A knife here, a knife in my pocket, like a bunch of things hanging out of my pocket. Magazine pouches on my hip. Like all this stuff is just giving a possibility that I'm going to be detected. And nobody's hips look like this. My shirt, you can clearly tell, like I didn't remove the buckles under here. Little things. These are 3810s. They're the thicker plates. These are not as good, right? It's going to be very obvious back here that I'm wearing a plate carrier. This is the 511 shirt, right? These pin pockets are kind of a dead giveaway, having pin pockets on your shoulders. Most people might not pick up on it, but like if you really don't want to be noticed, you don't want to be noticed by anybody. What else can we talk about? Yeah, just general shirt, right? I didn't take my patches off. This, you can see this clearly. This type of iPro, like nobody just wears this, right? These are ESS. I'm going to recognize these right away that these are military, that you got issued these, or same with the Oakleys. Like think about the stuff that you're putting on your face. because these are going to look very, 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 very obvious, okay? A Glock hat or Hornady or something, right? Even a T-Rex Arms hat or other hats that are like industry-specific companies, other people know about that. So put on a generic brand. You'll be way less recognizable, okay? So none of that was to like, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but this is just something that I see that people think one or two of these things is low vis, and it's not. So let's look at what actual low vis might look like. All right, guys, so here's a good example of having actual plate carrier and everything on, and carrying much of the similar same stuff, but blending in a little bit better. This is what I would call low vis, meaning, okay, I'm still wearing hard armor, which is nearly impossible to conceal, mainly because of this big hump it puts on your back, but you're gonna breeze past a lot more people with them looking at like, maybe that guy looked a little weird, but not nearly as many eyes on you. This is how normal people dress. I'm wearing Vans. Yes, I'm wearing skinny jeans. You know why? Because a lot of people my age wear skinny jeans. When I go out and I want to look nice, if fashion were my main concern, I would be wearing skinny jeans, right? A flannel. A lot of people wear baggy kind of puffed out flannels, roll the sleeves up, got a nice watch on, and now I'm carrying a backpack, right? So if I see that someone's really paying attention to me, I can just kind of hike my backpack up like I'm carrying it and disguise the hump on my back, right? So backpacks are important. You can carry a lot of different things in here. This one, the only downside I would say is like light blue, so it's kind of high vis. It's memorable. Oh, he was carrying a blue backpack, right? So that's something, you know, if someone sees this backpack, they might notice it again. So finding something in between that's a little more mute is a good option. In here I have a bunch of, you can carry whatever, man, whether it's soft armor, you know, an SMG, whatever you need to carry, right? Backpacks are great. Now, one consideration for backpacks, they get searched a lot whenever you're going somewhere for good reason. So just keep that in mind when you have a backpack on you, like odds are it might get searched. I've used this bag before, but this one is kind of 511's more low vis one. Downside is it has 511 on it in little places, and if someone got a little bit of time to look at this, they might kind of figure out what type of backpack this is. You know, these type of buckles and stuff on the side, not quite as low vis, okay? So let's talk about what I'm actually wearing though, right? From the front, I don't like, if you saw me in a crowd, you wouldn't pick me out as like, oh, this guy is carrying a bunch of stuff on him, okay? Now, when I'm wearing a plate carrier, yes, I do carry back here because it's a lot harder to get your appendix carry here, right? So this is my Glock on my hip, right? Over here, handheld light, that's just a given. This kind of hangs down far enough. Some people carry flashlights on them, not that crazy. Shades are just normal sunglasses. My hat is, I don't even know what brand, Patagonia or something. It says live simply with a car on it, right? Nothing crazy there. Just a normal watch. And then, you know, my just kind of slightly oversized flannel that allows me to kind of conceal what's going on underneath here. I'll be honest with you, body armor is not easy to conceal, period. Hard plates are very, very difficult, right? Back pocket over here, all I did is I took two mags, and when you put two mags next to each other, it just looks like a wallet. You can't really make out the distinguishable shape, so if you have to carry extra magazine in arm's reach, that's not a bad place to do it. Downside is you'll be sitting on it all day. It's uncomfortable. Nobody said a lot of this stuff was comfortable. Okay, so we'll strip away the outer layer just so we can kind of see, one, how difficult it is to conceal. These are Hesco L210s. It is very difficult to conceal. My tourniquet's kind of popping out a little bit, which isn't helping for the concealment. But now you're not, even if I kind of reshift this tourniquet and I like get it tucked underneath, you're not really walking anywhere now without people wondering what the hell this weird shape to you is, right? So this is a fitted t-shirt. It's difficult to make this not look weird, all right? But this is still what I would say, if I had to do this, I'm still gonna blend in from a distance, and that's important, right? So food for thought. So what do I actually carry on me? What do I have? Obviously we talked about the Glock. Sorry, my microphone's down here. My belt, this is a Nex belt. This is a lot more blend in, doesn't look so tactical. This is something that you'll send signals to people that know what it is, but most bad dudes aren't going to recognize this from anything else. Tourniquet, right? This could be, I had this position a little bit differently, I think flipped around so it didn't flare out quite as much, or I might have dropped it lower so it stuck closer. I do have a little kind of defensive K-bar right there for this, right? But that stays and blends in real nice. My two magazines, Glock, all right? And then one other thing that's kind of cool, up under here, I have a little mini IFAK, right? This is really good in case of an emergency. You have tourniquet and some way to stop the bleed and treat things. So kind of important. But this would be, guys, what I would consider, hopefully I haven't been blaring the microphone the whole time. This would be what I would consider an actual good low vis, but relatively high threat setup, meaning you want to be prepared and you're always balancing. We can go into a super low vis, but that's pretty much what you already saw is you're going to have to sacrifice things like body armor and equipment and all that stuff to stay extremely low vis. But this is a good loadout just to show you guys in general what we're looking at. All right, guys, so now we kind of looked at what we kind of perceive as low vis, kind of some of the misconceptions about it, and we want to transition our thought now to what is low signature, or we hear that term, but what does it actually look like, or what does it mean? So the thing you have to realize when you're camouflaging yourself is a lot of it's contextual, right? When we're looking at low vis, we really want to blend in. When someone looks at us up close, we don't want to look like anything irregular, you know what I mean? But now when we zoom out a little bit more to a low signature, or an area where we think, man, because of what we're doing or the context of how we're doing it, we're not going to be able to be low vis. Maybe the threat, like overseas, the threat is so high on a lot of those guys that they need to have plate carriers on and they need a certain amount of equipment. There's no hiding that, right? There's only making the signature reduced, right? So when we're running around in full, like with rucks and fatigues and everything on us, then we're very high signature. In other words, someone's going to look at that and go, oh, that's an American soldier, or whatever. But when we kind of want to go that more low signature route, at a glance, we just don't want to stand out like crazy, like we would if we were in a full uniform with a weapon slung, right? So let's start looking at maybe kind of a low signature setup. Also, one side note, you might not have noticed, I'm actually wearing body armor underneath these, right? Hoodies are phenomenal if it's not super, super hot out to wear hard armor underneath, because you can leave this hood down and kind of cover up that bump that happens back there. So food for thought, I'm actually wearing plate carrier. Okay guys, so what you'll see here is what I would call more of a low signature setup, okay? Here are your little watches and things that you might actually need, like a Garmin, whether that's for navigation, or you need to wear, these are still, but you need nicer eye pro that's going to be ballistic. This is generally just going to try and be like, hey, at first glance, we're going to look normal. Maybe we're a QRF staged in a car. Maybe there's just some crazy stuff going on, riots, and we are not the people that are going out there to stop or, stop people from doing things. It's just, if things get really, really bad to where it's going to justify someone being dressed like this coming out, right? That's what we're looking at, is we want to kind of remain under the radar. Generally, this is held in like a overseas contracting, moving, valuable people around. Or this is going to be used in like a QRF setup. Hey, we're going to sit in a predisposed location with a vehicle, and we're just, in case something bad happens, people are rolling by, they're not really picking up on what we're doing. It just looks like some dude sitting in a car. Unless they look real closely, then they're going to kind of see, right? So, generally having some sort of a cover garment's great, so that you can throw it on and off if you need it or don't need it. You can get rid of it, you can drop it. Notice kind of the color scheme that I picked here. I'm trying not to pick anything that's really bright or stands out. And the reason behind that now is, at a distance, I just want to look like kind of a blob. Okay, that's a form of camouflage. If I'm wearing really bright stuff, people are going to pick up on that. They're going to see it. So rifle mags, obviously these are kind of optional. Having some form of comms, you're probably going to want to have comms at this point. That stuff can be a little bit more out there. You're probably going to be having a rifle staged in a vehicle or a bag or whatever it is, but you're a little bit more ready to go, right? I'm more okay with wearing my Solomons because, it's just the threat level would be high enough that I'm okay with being low signature. So with all this said, guys, when I talk about in context to camouflage, what I mean is there's certain levels of camouflage that are acceptable based on what we're doing or what the purpose is. The main point is we have to take that in and be aware of it. A lot of people think that they're low vis when they're really, really not. They're sticking out like a sore thumb, okay? That's, they're throwing on their 511 pants, doing all this stuff, and it's more so of I'm pretending to not want people to see me, but I want people to see me and know that I'm doing, this security job or whatever the case may be. Rather than just blending in like they don't exist, they look like any other person in a crowd. That's really kind of the idea behind what you want. So play with some of this stuff in the context of camouflage, right? Whether it's you're just every day you're walking out the door, what signals are you sending with the footwear you're wearing, with the things you're putting on your wrist, with the logos on your shirt? with the sunglasses you're wearing. There's certain things you're putting off that you might not have even thought about, or maybe you do think about. And then when you start looking at setups like this, start thinking about, okay, what am I putting off? What do I need to carry? What is the purpose of this? Each piece of gear sends off a message if somebody sees it. So if you have something, make sure it's worth it that you have it, right? But yeah, so that's generally the layout of Camouflage. I just wanted to kind of show you guys, you know, more of what I would call quote unquote low signature or urban, to where if I really needed to cover up, I could take my cover up shirt, or if I'm in a vehicle, I'm not going to stand out as much as if I hop out of a vehicle and I'm a dude wearing, you know, multicam. Okay guys, so a really big one too for Camouflage that I want to talk about when we're looking at an urban environment is body language. The way that we're talking to people, the way that we're doing things. You know, if we generally stand with our arms crossed, with our feet kind of this far apart, that's the typical bodyguard stance. It's giving away a lot. You know, we can talk kind of like this with our hands and be able to look as if we're not presenting any threats, right? But what we're doing is we're keeping our hands in front of us. So this, in relation to Camouflage, is something that I see people mess up a lot, because they'll, you know, kind of stand like this, and this is a very bodyguard-esque stance. So is this, so is like the firm thing. So, you know, I try and still, when you're thinking about doing that and looking, you know, innocent, that's what you want. That's a form of camouflage. So being the last person that someone would suspect to be in that situation might be what you want, right? If you're trying not to have any attention drawn to you, maybe there's someone that's robbing somewhere or a threat that's happening, and you looking very, hey, I'm, you know, very docile, you know, crunched over, does not mean that you're not still in the position to make the decision and go from innocent to draw and engage and aggressive, right? So just food for thought. Again, everything has signals. If you're putting off, if you see someone doing something and you get all stiff and you get the like stare and kind of, that will give you away. Also, another really big thing is guys that are looking to draw attention for no reason. So an example is you might have somebody crossing a street and there's not very many people around, but instead of just waiting for that crosswalk to go to walk, we start jaywalking and stopping traffic. That draws so much more attention to what's going on and really puts the person that you're protecting at a higher risk, right? So that's just a concept to think about. You're increasing your signature by thinking like, oh, we need to move through here quickly, rather than just doing what everybody else is doing and waiting for that crosswalk, right? You're increasing that signature. And that's, again, kind of a posturing or body language thing. You don't want to do that. If you're really trying to fly under the radar, all you're doing is creating more problems, right? So that's a really big one. Or somebody looks at somebody the wrong way, and instead of just being, you know, not saying anything and carrying on with your conversation, does one of these like hard stares at people. Look, man, that's super obvious. You can take in that information by simply tracking the person all the way here, and then being able to like, yeah, and kind of, you know, check your watch, but be able to check your peripheral, you know, think about stuff like that. Oh, I got to throw something away. Let me throw something in the trash can. And is that person paying attention to us? That's kind of along the lines of camouflage, right? If you break through some of those things, it's very, very easy to pick out who's who and what's going on. Especially the concealed carry person. All right, guys, in closing, that was our guide to urban camouflage and considerations to be used when we're looking at just the way we everyday carry, looking at the logos, the things that we have, what they say about us, and if we're going to walk out the door with a gun t-shirt or Solomon's or things like that, we just want to be aware of that signature that we're putting off, whether good, bad, or indifferent. Next is we talked about low vis versus low signature. Low vis is, hey, we're going to be in a context where a lot of people's eyes are going to be on us, but we don't want them to look too much deeper into us. So we don't want to stand out. We don't want to have patches. We don't want to have things that kind of gently allude to the fact that we were military or we're here for this, whatever. Those things are dead giveaways in low vis situations. We don't want to do that. Then we looked into what a low signature could look like and the various different levels. So start kind of playing with that idea in your head and identifying what, you know, depending on what your situation is or what your need might be, what your everyday carry, you know, concealment looks like, what your low vis looks like, what your maybe a little bit higher threat level. You know, if there's crazy riots again and then things get nuts in your neighborhood, do you want to go out there and strap on all this stuff and make yourself a target? Probably not, right? You want to want to kind of think about the camouflage that you're able to use and curve violence and reduce your signature and make sure that you're hidden and you can avoid those things is generally the best policy for where we're at. So just wanted to share that with you guys. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe. If you have, again, if you want to say, oh, that's dumb, I disagree with this, or you have some contrary points, please bring them up in the comment section. We'd love to discuss it. The entire purpose of this is to generate conversation and start thinking about these things rather than just taking it for granted and pretending we've considered all this stuff. So thank you so much, guys. Educate, train, perform.